right now or to autumn ngexesha lokuvuna ibiba khona imibongo esiyibhalayo xa sizavuna okokuba konke kuluhlaza konke sekuvuthiwe imbiza isemnyango sizawupheka sitya amavila sobakhuphela ngaphandle so bendimbongi before I can sing so after that I went to Butterworth to do my high school at Lamplau High School, and then from there I went to Technical and SA in East London to do my tertiary, and then I did not graduate because my father was retrenched in the mines. My father was working in the mines and then he was retrenched. Then when he was retrenched, I had to go out and look for a job. I worked at Mnet, I worked at MTN, and then from there
you working there while you artist?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was working at Mnet and MTN, what I used to do, I used to travel to places where there's a wedding, where there's a funeral, hoping and praying that someone on a Mali would spot me and record me. So I was blessed in one of the funerals. There was a businessman in East London. So it's about 4 hours from my home to East London. And then I went to this funeral, and then while I was singing, this businessman came to me and said, are you signed with any record company? That's what I'm looking for. And at the time, there was no reading of the contracts. You will be given the contract, and then the only thing,
and then you just sign everything.
Yes, the only thing you want is to be on stage. We were driven by passion, and I was a child. I don't want to lie. I was a child at the time. I signed the contract, and then when everything was going smoothly, when it comes to sales, when it comes to releasing in 1997, I released my first solo album. It was called Kholeka. It's like when you Google there, you'll find that funny video of me when I was still younger. I think I was 16, 17 years old at the time, and then I released my first album called Kholeka. And then from there, it was followed by my second album that was called Selia Duduma Izulu.
I know that one.
Selia Duduma Izulu. Yes, and I was a child, I was energetic, I was a happy person on stage at the time. And then after that, I was like, 1 + 1 is not 2. When it comes to the record company and all that. 1 + 1 was not 2, and I was not happy anymore. And I started looking for another one. And then I
want us to start here. Before we go there, let's start here. I want us to start here.
Okay.
On Sunday, she's laughing. This was your first song.
That was my first album.
My goodness.
That was my first album, and you can tell the voice is not yet matured. It's bumpy. It's like uncontrollable, but I tried.
You did well.
Yeah.
You are still standing from that first song. There
had to be a first time for me to be able to do a second one.
Because this was your first one. I want you to share with Umlalelwe Vuma FM right now. What was in your hand when you finally recorded the song and you got to listen to the work that you've done, the first music oyenzile?
It was like ringing in my head, like, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best. If it's I've got an event that I have to go to attend, I have to do my best. Because at the time we had Rebecca, Messi Pakela, Chick to Chick, Mfundisi Ndlovu, Amaswazemvelo were there at the time, though they were no longer active, but they were there. That was the music that we were listening to. So it was like, back then, when there's an event, they were mixing gospel, kwaito, rap, maskandi, and they would put one big show. Like when you look at it right now, it's like people are like doing their own.
Oh yeah, maskandi on the side, gospel on the side.
In our days, when we are singing gospel, the people would come into the festival, and the gospel will be the first one to get into. We will open the festival. That's what we usually do. We did back then. So right now we can see that gospel is like gospel shows, maskandi shows. But I think it was easier to reach more audience at the time. I don't know what changed. I don't know what happened, but it was easier to reach more people, and people who never knew anything about Christ, and they would hear Christ in the morning as the opening, because that was the opening. That's what usually happened. So from there, then I had to make sure that I do my best, because I'm amongst the best. I remember when I was doing the tour with Brenda Fassie in the olden days, when she released her album Memeza.
Yes.
When she was touring the Eastern Cape, I was opening for her in the Eastern Cape, the whole of Eastern Cape, like PE, East London, Grahamstown. I was opening for her, and then she will come. So those were the days.
Wow.
But what I told myself, I'll do the best.
Oh, yes. To make a grace on Sunday on Vuma FM, Adult Radio for the Young at Heart. We are in conversation with the Kholeka namhlanje kuseni as sikhuluma naye, looking at her life, looking at her career. And Kholeka, you were once a presenter in one of the SABC radio stations. Tell us about that. What about behind the microphone?
I still love radio.
Okay.
I still love radio. I worked for Umhlobo FM for 6 years.
For 6 years?
For 6 years.
Well, you are a seasoned presenter.
I'm telling you, but my program was in the evening.
Okay.
Yes, so it was not in the morning. In the morning, it was Mfundisi Faleni in the morning.
I know Mfundisi Faleni.
Yes.
Hey.
And in the evening on Sunday, I would start with the gospel at 7, 8, and then 9 o'clock, Imvuselelo will start. Yes. So I love radio. I still do, but
you can still go back with radio.
I can still.
I
would.
Oh,
I would. I love radio because you are talking to someone who is just listening to you. And while listening, taking all the things that you are saying and put it to work. So if you are there to motivate, you motivate. If you are there to praise, you praise. So radio speaks to some people out down there in the rural areas. It reaches each and everyone. I love radio.
To make a grace on Sunday, if you have any questions, do send them on 073-709-1991. That's our WhatsApp line. You can also call us on 086-1010-300, 086-1010-300, 073-709-1991. We'll continue with our conversation. This is Mega Grace on Sunday with Nupumla Nkwanyana. Good morning.